Marcus Webb was tired. His back hurt. His hands were covered in black grease that never really washed off anymore. He had spent the last 14 hours fixing an old cargo ship's engine, and all he wanted was some hot food and a place to sit down. The food hall on Orbital Station Gamma 7 was the only place open at this hour. Marcus walked in and immediately saw the problem. Every single table was full. The station was hosting some kind of important meeting, and aliens from the Valorian Empire had taken over everything. Their silver skin and tall bodies made them easy to spot. They wore expensive clothes and spoke in low, serious voices. Guards in golden armor stood at every door. Marcus grabbed a tray of synthetic protein and looked around desperately. His legs were shaking from exhaustion. He needed to sit down right now, or he would fall down. Then he saw it. A small table in the corner. Only one person sat there. A young woman in a hover chair. The chair floated a few inches off the ground, humming quietly. The woman had silver skin like the other Valorians, but she was alone. No guards, no servants. Just her, sitting perfectly still, staring at nothing. Marcus walked over. He was too tired to think about politics or proper behavior. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked, but the woman did not answer. She did not even look at him. Marcus shrugged. He figured she was some noble who thought humans were too low to talk to. That was fine with him. He just wanted to eat. He sat down heavily and started eating his meal. The food was terrible, as always. Dry and tasteless. But it was hot, and that was enough. As he ate, Marcus found himself looking at his table companion. She was beautiful in a strange and distant way. Her silver skin was smooth and perfect. Golden circuits were embedded along her temples, running down her neck and disappearing under her collar. This was common for Valorians. They used technology to enhance their bodies in ways humans could only dream about. But something was wrong with this woman. Marcus had been a mechanic for 15 years. He had started on Earth, fixing old cars and farm equipment. Then he had moved to space, working on ships and stations. He had seen every kind of machine break down in every possible way. And right now, his mechanic's instincts were screaming at him. The woman's hands lay in her lap, completely still. Her fingers did not twitch or move at all. Her head was tilted slightly to one side, and it stayed in that exact position. Her chest rose and fell, but the movement was too perfect, too regular. It looked mechanical. Marcus leaned closer, studying the circuits on her neck. There, he saw it. A tiny flicker of light at one of the junction points. It blinked on and off in an irregular pattern. "You've got a short in your neural relay," Marcus said suddenly. The woman's eyes moved. It was the first movement Marcus had seen from her. Her eyes slid sideways, focusing on him with sharp intensity. There was intelligence in those eyes. Sharp, desperate intelligence trapped behind a frozen face. Marcus pointed at her neck with his fork. "See that flicker? Third junction down. The signal is not getting through properly. That is probably why your motor functions are not working." The woman stared at him. She could not speak. She could not move her head or her hands. But her eyes were screaming at him. They were full of hope and fear and desperation. Marcus suddenly felt uncomfortable. He had spoken without thinking, the way he always did when he saw a mechanical problem. But this was not a machine. This was a person. A Valorian noble, probably. And he was just a human mechanic who had grease under his fingernails. "Sorry," he said awkwardly. "I did not mean to be rude. I just noticed these things. It is my job." The woman's eyes stayed locked on his face. She was trying to tell him something. Marcus could feel it. "Can you blink?" he asked suddenly. Once for yes, twice for no. The woman blinked once. Slowly and deliberately, Marcus felt his heart start beating faster. Okay, good. so you can understand me, and you can control your eyes. But nothing else works. One blink. How long has it been like this? The woman's eyes filled with tears. She could not wipe them away. They just rolled down her silver cheeks. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He had seen broken machines his whole life, but he had never seen anything as broken as this woman, trapped inside her own body, unable to move or speak or even cry properly. "I think I know what is wrong," he said quietly. "The technology in your spine, it is not working together properly. Different systems fighting each other. I have seen this before in old ships with mixed parts. The signals get confused and everything shuts down." The woman blinked once. "Has anyone else told you this? Any doctors?" 2 blinks. Noda Marcus opened his mouth to say more, but suddenly there were hands grabbing him. Strong hands in golden gloves. He was yanked out of his chair and slammed face first onto the table. His tray went flying. Food splattered everywhere. "How dare you approach the princess?" A voice shouted in his ear. "How dare you speak to her?" Marcus tried to turn his head. More guards were surrounding the table. They had weapons pointed at him. The other people in the food hall were staring. "I was just eating," Marcus gasped. "I did not know she was a princess. I was just trying to help." "Help?" The guard laughed coldly. "A human? Help the imperial princess? You are lucky we do not kill you right here." "Wait," Marcus said desperately. "Listen to me. There is something wrong with her implants. I can see it. I am a mechanic. I fix things. And she is broken in a way that I think I can fix." The guards went silent. The whole food hall went silent. Marcus could feel the princess's eyes on him. He could not see her, but he knew she was watching, hoping, praying. "I can fix her," Marcus said again. "I know I can. Just let me try." One of the guards spoke into a communication device. There was a long pause. Then a voice came back, cold and commanding. "Bring the human to the Emperor." Marcus was pulled to his feet. As the guards dragged him away, he looked back at the princess one last time. Her eyes were still fixed on him, shining with tears. He had made a promise he was not sure he could keep. But he was going to try. He was human after all. And humans never knew when to quit. The guards dragged Marcus through hallways he had never seen before. These were not the dirty corridors where mechanics worked. These halls were clean and bright, with golden decorations on the walls and soft carpet under his feet. He left greasy footprints with every step. They stopped in front of a massive door. It was made of some kind of white metal that seemed to glow from inside. 2 more guards stood on either side, holding weapons that hummed with energy. The door opened slowly. The room inside was enormous. It looked like a throne room from old Earth stories, but everything was made of crystal and gold and light. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat a man in white robes. His silver skin was darker than the princess's, and lines of gold ran across his face like cracks in old pottery. His eyes were cold and hard as stone. Emperor Qiang of the Valorian Empire. Marcus had heard stories about him. Everyone had. He ruled over 40 star systems. His word was law for billions of beings. He had destroyed entire planets that opposed him. And now he was staring at Marcus with the look of a man deciding whether to step on a bug. The guards pushed Marcus forward until he stood at the bottom of the platform. They forced him to his knees. "This is the human?" the Emperor asked. His voice was quiet but filled the entire room. "Yes, Your Majesty," one of the guards replied. He was found speaking to Princess Yuna. He claims he can cure her condition. The Emperor's expression did not change. "Leave us." The guards hesitated. "Your Majesty, he could be dangerous. He is a human mechanic covered in engine grease." "Leave us." The guards bowed and walked out. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Marcus was alone with the most powerful being in the galaxy. The Emperor stood up slowly. He walked down the steps of the platform, his robes flowing behind him like water. He stopped right in front of Marcus, looking down at him with those cold, empty eyes. "Stand up," the Emperor said. Marcus stood. His legs were shaking, but he forced himself to meet the Emperor's gaze. "My daughter," the Emperor said slowly, "has been sick for 7 years. The finest doctors in 12 star systems have examined her. They have tried every treatment known to medical science. Every single one of them has failed. They tell me her condition is permanent. They tell me there is no hope." He leaned closer to Marcus. "And now you, a human who fixes broken engines, claim you can succeed where they all failed. Explain yourself." Marcus took a deep breath. His mouth was dry with fear, but he made himself speak. "I am not a doctor," he said. "I do not know anything about medicine, but I know machines. And your daughter has machines inside her body. I could see them in her neck. Neural relays, signal processors, motor control units. Someone installed them to help her, but they did it wrong." "Wrong?" The Emperor's voice was dangerous. "The different parts are not compatible," Marcus continued. "I saw Valorian biotech running on processing chips that use a different signal frequency. It is like trying to play music through a speaker that cannot hear the right notes. The signals get scrambled. The body gets confused. Everything shuts down." The Emperor was silent for a long moment. "My physicians are the greatest in the galaxy." "Are you saying they made a mistake?" "I am saying they are doctors. They are looking for a disease. They are looking for something wrong with her body. But there is nothing wrong with her body. The problem is in the machines. And doctors do not understand machines the way mechanics do." Marcus pulled out his work tablet. His hands were shaking, but he managed to bring up a simple diagram. "Look, the neural pathway here should carry signals from the brain to the muscles. But this junction point is creating interference. The signal goes out, but it gets corrupted before it arrives. Her brain is sending commands, but her body is not receiving them." The Emperor looked at the diagram. His face was still and unreadable. "My daughter's doctors have studied her condition for 7 years," he said finally. "You looked at her for 5 minutes. And you think you found the answer?" "Sometimes fresh eyes see what familiar eyes miss," Marcus said. "I am not saying I am smarter than your doctors. I am just saying I see the problem differently." The Emperor turned away. He walked to a window that looked out into space. Stars burned in the darkness, cold and distant. "Do you know what it is like?" he said quietly. "To watch your child die slowly, day by day. To see her trapped inside herself, screaming without sound, reaching without movement? For 7 years, I have watched my daughter suffer. For 7 years, I have searched for a cure. And for 7 years, I have found nothing but disappointment." He turned back to Marcus. "I do not believe you can help her. I think you are either a fool or a liar. But I am desperate, and desperate men do desperate things." The Emperor walked back to Marcus and looked directly into his eyes. "I will give you a chance," he said. 3 days. You will have access to the finest equipment in my empire. You will have whatever resources you need. And at the end of 3 days, you will either cure my daughter or you will die." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. "Die. If you are right, you will be the greatest hero in the galaxy. If you are wrong, you will have given my daughter false hope. And for that, I will end your life personally." Marcus should have been terrified. He should have fallen to his knees and begged for mercy. But something strange happened instead. He thought about the princess's eyes. He thought about the tears rolling down her frozen face. He thought about how she had looked at him with so much desperate hope. "Okay," Marcus said. I will do it. The Emperor raised one eyebrow. You accept? Just like that. You are not afraid to die? I am terrified, Marcus admitted. But I am also right. I know I am. And if there's even a small chance I can help her, I have to try. The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Something changed in his eyes. Not warmth, exactly, but something like respect. Humans, he said quietly. You are such strange creatures. You are weak. You are small. You live such short lives. And yet, you throw yourselves against impossible challenges as if you do not know you should fail. Maybe that is our secret, Marcus said. We do not know what is impossible, so we try anyway. The Emperor almost smiled, almost. 3 days, he repeated. Do not waste them. He gestured, and the doors opened. Guards came back in to escort Marcus out. As he walked away, Marcus could feel the weight of what he had just agreed to. 3 days to fix something that the greatest doctors in the galaxy could not fix. 3 days or death. He was just a mechanic. He fixed engines and pipes and broken machines. But maybe that was exactly what the princess needed. Marcus did not sleep that night. He could not afford to. 3 days was not much time, and he had a lot of work to do. The Emperor had given him a cargo bay to use as his workspace. Guards brought equipment from all over the station. Medical scanners, surgical tools, computer systems that Marcus had never seen before. Everything was advanced and expensive, worth more money than Marcus would earn in 100 lifetimes. But Marcus did not use most of it. Instead, he went to the station's junkyard. The junkyard was where broken ships came to die. Old engines, rusted hulls, outdated computers, everything that was too damaged or too old to be useful anymore. Other mechanics called it the graveyard. Marcus called it a treasure chest. He spent hours digging through the piles of junk. He found old signal processors from Earthships. He found adapter cables that nobody made anymore. He found a small device called an adaptive frequency modulator, buried under a pile of broken navigation equipment. The modulator was old Earth technology. Really old. It had been designed almost 200 years ago, back when humans first started traveling in space. The human brain had trouble adjusting to zero gravity, so engineers had created this device to help. It learned how each individual brain worked and adjusted signals in real time to match. The technology was considered primitive now. Nobody used it anymore. But Marcus remembered learning about it in school. And something about the princess's condition had reminded him of it. He carried his treasures back to the cargo bay and started working. The princess arrived the next morning. Her hover chair floated through the door, followed by a team of Valorian doctors in white coats. They looked at Marcus with open disgust. A human, they thought, trying to do what they could not. It was insulting. Marcus ignored them. He walked over to the princess and knelt down so he was at eye level with her. "Good morning," he said softly. "How are you feeling?" She blinked once. "Good. I am going to need to run some tests today. I need to understand exactly how your implants work. Is that okay?" One blink. Marcus smiled. "You are being very brave. I know this is scary, but I promise I'm going to do everything I can to help you." Tears appeared in the princess's eyes again. Happy tears this time, Marcus thought. Or maybe hopeful tears. He got to work. The Valorian doctors had brought detailed records of all the princess's treatments. Marcus spent hours reading through them, trying to understand what had been tried before. The doctors had focused on her nervous system. They had tried medicines to repair nerve damage. They had tried surgery to remove what they thought were tumors. They had tried electrical stimulation to wake up her sleeping muscles. None of it had worked, because none of it addressed the real problem. Marcus ran his own tests. He used the medical scanners to look at the implants in the princess's spine and neck. The images confirmed what he had suspected. The princess had been born healthy. Her problems had started when she was 15 years old, when she began receiving implants to enhance her abilities. This was normal for Valorian royalty. They used technology to make themselves faster, stronger, smarter. The implants were supposed to be a gift, but something had gone wrong. The engineers who designed the implants had used parts from different sources. Some components were Valorian. Some were from a species called the Mortith. Some were from other races entirely. On their own, each component worked perfectly. But together, they created chaos. Marcus drew a diagram on a large screen so the doctors could see. "Look here," he said, pointing at the image. "This Valorian processor sends signals at one frequency. This Mortith chip receives signals at a different frequency. When they try to communicate, the signals get scrambled. The brain sends a command to move a finger. The signal travels through the spine. It hits this junction point and gets corrupted. The finger receives garbage data instead of clear instructions. So it does nothing." The lead doctor, a tall woman named Dr. Vela, frowned at the screen. "That cannot be right. We tested the compatibility of all components before installation." "You tested them individually," Marcus said. "Did you test them all working together? At the same time? Under stress?" The doctor opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. Her silver face turned slightly pink. "The problem gets worse over time," Marcus continued. "Every failed signal creates more interference. The system tries to compensate by increasing power. More power means more heat. More heat damages the components. It is a cycle that feeds itself. 7 years ago, she could probably still move a little. 5 years ago, she lost her arms. 3 years ago, her legs. 1 year ago, her voice." He turned to look at the princess. "If we do not fix this soon, she will lose everything, including her ability to breathe on her own." The room was silent. The doctors stared at Marcus with new expressions. Not disgust anymore. Something closer to fear. "So what do you propose?" Dr. Vila asked quietly. Marcus held up the old frequency modulator. "This device learns signal patterns and translates them in real time. If I can install it at the main junction point, it can act as a translator between all the different components. The brain sends a signal, the modulator catches it, converts it to the right frequency, and passes it on. That technology is 200 years old," another doctor said. "It is primitive." "It is simple," Marcus corrected. "There is a difference. Simple technology is reliable. It does not break easily. And it does exactly what it is designed to do. Nothing more, nothing less." He looked at the princess again. "The surgery will be dangerous. I will need to access the main junction point in your spine. There is a risk of making things worse. There is a risk of permanent damage. There is even a risk of death." The princess's eyes met his. They were calm and steady. She blinked once. "Are you sure?" Marcus asked. "You understand the risks?" One blink. "You trust me? A human mechanic you just met?" This time, she did not blink right away. She looked at him for a long moment, studying his face, searching for something. Then, slowly, deliberately, she blinked once. Marcus felt the weight of that trust settle on his shoulders. It was heavier than anything he had ever carried before. "Okay," he said. "We operate tomorrow morning. Everyone gets some rest. It is going to be a long day." The doctors filed out, whispering among themselves. The princess's hover chair followed them, guided by a servant. Marcus stayed behind in the cargo bay, alone with his tools and his fears. He had one chance to save her. One chance to prove that a simple human mechanic could succeed where the greatest doctors in the galaxy had failed. He could not afford to make a single mistake. The morning came too fast. Marcus had not slept at all. He had spent the entire night checking and rechecking his equipment, running simulations, preparing for every possible problem. His eyes burned with tiredness, but his hands were steady. They always were when he was working. The cargo bay had been transformed into a surgery room. Clean white sheets covered the tables. Bright lights hung from the ceiling. Medical machines beeped and hummed softly. It did not look like a proper hospital, but it was the best Marcus could do. Princess Yuna arrived at exactly 8 in the morning. Her hover chair floated through the door, followed by Dr. Vela and the other doctors. Behind them came Emperor Kung himself, dressed in simple black robes instead of his usual royal white. The Emperor's face was like stone. He looked at Marcus with eyes that held both hope and warning. "Do not fail me," those eyes said. "Do not fail her." Marcus nodded silently. He understood that 2 servants lifted the princess from her hover chair and laid her gently on the operating table. She was so light, so fragile. Her silver skin seemed almost transparent in the bright lights. Her eyes found Marcus and stayed fixed on him. "I am going to give you something to help with the pain," Marcus said softly. "You will not be able to see or hear for a while, but I will be here the whole time. I will not leave you." One blink. Dr. Vela administered the medication. The princess's eyes slowly closed. Her breathing became deep and regular, controlled by machines now. Marcus took a deep breath. This was it. "Let us begin," he said. The surgery was like nothing the Valorian doctors had ever seen. They were used to careful, precise procedures with advanced tools and sterile environments. Marcus worked differently. He used simple instruments. He talked constantly, explaining what he was doing and why. And he trusted his hands more than any scanner or computer. He made his first cut at the base of the princess's skull. The silver skin parted easily, revealing the complex technology underneath. Wires and circuits and processing chips, all tangled together in a mess of different designs and styles. "This is worse than I thought," Marcus muttered. "Who designed this system? It looks like 3 different engineers who never talked to each other." He worked slowly and carefully, tracing each wire to its source, mapping the connections in his mind. The Valorian doctors watched in silence, impressed despite themselves. After 2 hours, Marcus reached the main junction point. This was the heart of the problem. A small box where all the major nerves connected to the implant system. It was supposed to be a bridge between brain and body. Instead, it had become a wall. "There," Marcus said, pointing. "See how the signals are crossing? The wires are too close together. The frequencies are interfering with each other. It is like having 2 radio stations on the same channel. All you get is noise." He pulled out his frequency modulator and held it up. "This little device is going to fix everything. It will sit right here at the junction point and clean up all the cross signals. But first, I need to remove the damaged components." This was the dangerous part. Marcus had to disconnect the princess's brain from her body, 1 wire at a time. If he made a mistake, if he cut the wrong connection, he could kill her instantly. His hands did not shake. They moved with the confidence of a man who had done this 1,000 times before. Not on people, of course. On machines. But in some ways, this was the same thing. Find the problem. Remove it. Replace it with something that works. 3 hours passed. Then 4. Marcus did not stop for food or water or rest. He was completely focused on the work in front of him. Dr. Vela brought him updates on the princess's condition. Her heart was stable. Her brain activity was normal. But she was getting weaker. The surgery was taking too long. "I need more time," Marcus said without looking up. "She does not have more time," Dr. Vela replied. "Her body is shutting down." Marcus's hands finally paused. He looked at the princess's face, peaceful and still on the table. Then he looked at the Emperor, standing in the corner like a statue, watching everything. "I can save her," Marcus said. "But I need to take a risk. I need to install the modulator now, before I finish cleaning up all the damaged components. There might be complications." "What kind of complications?" the Emperor asked. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. "I do not know. The old damage might interfere with the new device. She might have partial function instead of full function. Or the whole thing might fail and we lose everything." The Emperor closed his eyes. For a moment, he looked like any other father, terrified for his child. "Do it," he said quietly. "Save my daughter." Marcus nodded and went back to work. Installing the modulator was delicate work. He had to connect it to 17 different wires, each one carrying a different type of signal. One wrong connection and the whole system would crash. But Marcus did not make mistakes. Not with work this important. The last wire clicked into place. Marcus held his breath and activated the device. For a long moment, nothing happened. The machines beeped steadily. The princess lay motionless on the table. The doctors watched with hopeless expressions. Then a light flickered on the modulator. Green. It was working. More lights appeared. The device was learning, analyzing the princess's unique neural patterns, figuring out how to translate her brain signals into commands her body could understand. "Brain activity is increasing," Dr. Vila reported, staring at her scanner. "Neural pathways are reconnecting? I have never seen anything like this." Marcus watched the princess's face. Her eyelids twitched. Her lips trembled slightly. Then her finger moved. It was small. Just a tiny twitch, really. But it was movement. Real movement, controlled by her own brain for the first time in years. Dr. Vela gasped. The other doctors crowded around, staring at the monitors in disbelief. "It is working," one of them whispered. "It is actually working." The Emperor walked forward slowly, as if in a dream. He stopped beside the operating table and looked down at his daughter. As he watched, her finger twitched again. Then her hand. Then her whole arm, just slightly. Tears were streaming down the Emperor's face. He did not bother to wipe them away. Marcus stepped back from the table, his body suddenly aware of how exhausted it was. His legs felt weak. His vision was blurring. "The surgery is done," he said. "The modulator needs time to finish learning her patterns. Full recovery will take weeks, maybe months. But she will recover. She will walk again. She will speak again." The Emperor turned to look at him. For the first time, there was warmth in those cold eyes. "You did it," the Emperor said. "You actually did it." Marcus tried to smile, but his body had had enough. The room tilted sideways. The last thing he saw before he collapsed was the princess's hand. Slowly closing into a fist. She was coming back to life. And Marcus Webb, a simple human mechanic, had given her that gift. 3 months had passed since the surgery. 3 months of physical therapy, of small victories, of impossible progress. And now the day had finally come. The Imperial Senate Chamber was the largest room in the Valorian capital. It could hold 10,000 beings, and today every seat was filled. Senators and nobles from across the empire had gathered to witness something that nobody had believed possible. News cameras floated in the air, broadcasting to billions of viewers across 40 star systems. Marcus stood at the edge of the room, wearing his old mechanic's jumpsuit. They had offered him fancy robes and golden medals, but he had refused. He was a mechanic. That was who he was. He was not going to pretend to be something different just because he was on camera. The room fell silent as the main doors opened. Princess Una walked through them on her own 2 feet. She moved slowly, carefully, 1 step at a time. Her silver skin glowed under the bright lights. Her golden circuits sparkled like jewelry. She was wearing a simple white dress, nothing fancy or royal. She did not need fancy clothes. She was the miracle herself. The crowd gasped. Then they began to cheer. It started quietly, just a few voices. But it grew and grew until the whole chamber was shaking with the sound. 10,000 beings, stamping their feet and clapping their hands and shouting with joy. Princess Yuna smiled. It was the most beautiful thing Marcus had ever seen. She walked all the way to the central platform, where a podium waited for her. The cheering continued until she raised one hand, asking for silence. The room fell quiet immediately. 7 years ago, she said, her voice strong and clear, I lost everything. I lost my voice. I lost my movement. I lost my freedom. I was trapped inside my own body, screaming without sound, reaching without movement. I was alive, but I was not living. She paused, letting the words sink in. The greatest doctors in our empire examined me. They tried every treatment known to science. They told my father there was no hope. They told me to accept my fate. They told me that some things cannot be fixed. Her eyes found Marcus in the crowd. They were wrong. The cameras turned to follow her gaze. Suddenly, Marcus's face was on screens across the galaxy. He felt his cheeks turn red with embarrassment. This man, Princess Yuna continued, is a human mechanic named Marcus Webb. He works on old cargo ships. He fixes broken engines and leaky pipes. He's not a doctor. He's not a scientist. He's not famous or important or special by any measure that our society uses. She smiled again, warmth filling her voice. But he saw something that no one else could see. While our experts looked for disease, he found a malfunction. While they searched for complex answers, he applied simple solutions. He looked at me not as a patient to be cured, but as a machine to be fixed. And in doing so, he gave me back my life. She gestured, and a servant approached Marcus. Before he could protest, he was being led through the crowd to the central platform. The cheering started again as he climbed the steps to stand beside the princess. She took his hand in hers. Her grip was strong now, confident. Marcus Webb, she said formally, in the name of the Valorian Empire, I thank you for your service. You have given me a gift beyond measure. Now I wish to give you something in return. Emperor Kyung rose from his throne at the back of the platform. He walked forward to stand before Marcus, looking down at the small human with an expression of deep respect. The Valorian Empire has long considered humans a minor species, the emperor announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. We thought you were useful for labor, perhaps, but lacking the wisdom and skill for meaningful contribution to galactic civilization. We believed we had nothing to learn from you. He shook his head slowly. We were wrong. The words hung in the air like a declaration of war, but in reverse. A declaration of respect. Humans do not have our technology, the emperor continued. They do not have our long lives or our advanced bodies. They are small and fragile and brief. But they have something we lack. They have the courage to try when success seems impossible. They have the wisdom to find simple answers to complex problems. And they have the heart to care about strangers they have only just met. He placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Name your reward. Marcus Webb. Anything within my power to grant is yours. Marcus thought about it for a long moment. The whole galaxy was watching him. He could ask for anything. Wealth beyond imagination. Power and influence. A planet of his own. But that was not what he wanted. I would like a workshop, he said finally. A real one, with good tools and enough space to work. And maybe some funding for a medical engineering program. The emperor raised an eyebrow. That is all? The princess was not the only one with this problem, Marcus explained. There are millions of beings out there with conditions that doctors cannot fix because they are not medical problems. They are engineering problems. Someone needs to help them. He looked out at the crowd, at all the different species watching him. I cannot do it alone, but I can teach. I can show other mechanics what to look for. I can build a school where humans and Valorians and everyone else can learn to work together, to combine our knowledge, to find solutions that none of us could find on our own. Princess Yuna squeezed his hand. Then you shall have it. The Webb Institute of Adaptive Medicine, funded by the Imperial Treasury and supported by the full resources of our empire. The crowd erupted again. This time, Marcus did not feel embarrassed by the attention. He felt proud, not of himself, exactly, but of what this moment meant. For thousands of years, humans had been considered the underdogs of the galaxy. Too weak, too short-lived, too primitive to matter. They had survived by being stubborn, by working hard, by refusing to give up no matter how impossible the odds. And now, finally, the galaxy was starting to notice. Later that night, after the ceremony was over and the crowds had gone home, Marcus stood alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds, so many problems waiting to be solved. Princess Yuna found him there. "You could have asked for so much more," she said softly, standing beside him. "I have everything I need," Marcus replied. "Good work to do. People to help. What more could anyone want?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed, a light and happy sound that she had not been able to make for 7 years. "You really are strange creatures, you humans." Marcus smiled. "We prefer to think of ourselves as determined." "Is that your secret, then?" "Determination?" He thought about it. About all the humans working in engine rooms and cargo bays across the galaxy. About his parents, who had sacrificed everything to give him a chance at a better life. About everyone who had ever been told they could not succeed and had tried anyway. "Our secret," he said finally, "is that we do not know when to quit. The universe keeps throwing impossible problems at us, and we keep trying to solve them anyway. Sometimes we fail. Most of the time, actually. But sometimes, just sometimes, we succeed." He turned to face her, and those successes make all the failures worth it. Princess Yuna looked at him with those beautiful silver eyes, full of gratitude and something more, something like hope. "Then I am glad," she said, "that you sat at my table that day." Marcus laughed. "So am I, Princess. So am I." Above them, the stars burned bright and endless, full of mysteries waiting to be discovered and problems waiting to be solved. And somewhere out there, humans were working, building, fixing, trying, just as they always had, just as they always would. That was humanity's gift to the universe. Not intelligence or strength or technology, just a simple refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. And sometimes, that was enough.